Hey friends, welcome back to our channel, and if you're new here, welcome to Balanced Jiu-Jitsu. I love to teach sequences that are going to help your jiu-jitsu. Today we are looking at inverting, or the art of going upside down. So grab a mat, a blanket, and tap that subscribe button, and let's get started by warming up our shoulders. So let's begin by sitting upright, and then as we inhale, we'll bring our arms all the way overhead, and then turning the palms and extending the arms down. I want to wrap them behind my back so that I can put my thumbs into my elbow creases. Use that action of the thumbs in the elbow creases to help pull the shoulders away from the ears, keeping the neck nice and long here. And then inhaling again, bringing our palms back down and returning to Namaste with hands pressing into each other. Maintaining that nice long spine, we'll inhale, bring our arms up, and again extending them out to the side and wrapping them around, taking those thumbs back into the elbow creases, pulling the shoulders away from the ears. Keeping your spine long and your chin level with the floor. This time as we inhale, we'll bring our arms up, interlace the fingers, turn the palms up, and extend them as if they're pressing the ceiling up with your palms. Draw the thumbs down towards the floor and get a nice long stretch through the sides of your body. Holding this for a breath or two, and then allowing the fingers to come apart and keeping your arms engaged like you're pressing yourself out of a body of water, and then again drawing them behind you, putting those thumbs back into those elbow creases. It's important to create mobility in the shoulders, so inhaling, bringing the arms up one more time, interlacing the fingers with a different interlace this time, again pressing the palms up towards the ceiling. I want to maintain a nice long spine, so I keep my tailbone tucked as I stretch through the sides of my body, and using the action of my shoulder blades drawing down to help keep the shoulders open, as again I bring my thumbs back into my elbow creases, pulling them away from my ears, chin level with the floor. Now let's move ourselves into a child pose. I'm going to use a blanket between my thighs and my calves just to put a little bit of space between my knees. So if you're working with a knee injury or a sore knee, this is a nice way to practice this pose. Then extending your arms out so they're shoulder distance apart, press the palms down into the floor, pressing the sit bones back to rest on the heels. You want to find a connection between your hands pressing down and that goes all the way through your arms and through your body that allows the sit bones to release down towards your heels. Maintain this stretch for a few breaths, and then we'll take our right arm and slide it through a thread the needle style. You want to get the whole extension of your arm on the floor, right from the tip of your shoulder all the way to the base of your wrist, and even opening your palm so that the back of the hand can open up on the floor. You can also walk your left hand across a little bit to open the shoulders a little bit more here. And then you're going to return back to center, always bringing the arms in line with the shoulders and getting that center stretch before you move to the other side. Once you've centered, then you can do the second side. So now you're going to slide your left arm through. Again, trying to get all the way from the base of the shoulder to the base of the wrist, and even pressing the back of the hand down to the floor. I use my right arm and open up my elbow to walk to the left side. That way I can open my shoulders even just a little bit more. These preparatory shoulder openers are important before you do inversions, as you will be putting a lot of weight on your arms and on your shoulders. Returning to center one more time, stretching those arms out, shoulder distance apart. I also want to make sure that my spine is nice and nimble here, so we're going to move into some cat-cow stretches. I want to keep my hands under my shoulders and my knees under my hips as I inhale, rounding my back and getting that nice deep stretch, and then exhaling, arching my back, looking up towards the ceiling. And then inhaling, rounding my back, trying to round my back as much as I can, and exhaling, bringing it the other way. So always thinking of this stretch starting at the tip of your tailbone and moving all the way to the crown of your head. Now let's curl our toes under, lift our hips up, and stretch all the way back into downward dog. So I like to make sure again that my hands are in front of my feet, and I'm going to bend my knees to get more stretch into my shoulders as I lift my hips towards the ceiling, trying to straighten my legs. You can stay here for a few breaths. We will return to this downward dog often, as it is going to be our resting pose. Make sure that you keep breathing in this pose, and also that your neck is nice and long here. So you can shake your head and make it loose if you need to, but you want to keep a nice soft neck. We are going to move from downward dog into Ustrasana, which is a back bend, the camel pose. So I'm going to bring my knees to the floor, and I want to keep my shins in line with my knees here. Bringing my hands behind my hips, I'm going to use them to support my hips as I extend my head back. Try to keep your thighs perpendicular to the floor, and just use this exercise to open the heart up towards the ceiling as you let the head drop back. This one can get you in all different areas, so we won't stay super long. So as you inhale, you're going to come all the way back up to center, bring those hands back down to the floor, curl the toes under, lift the hips, downward dog. Make sure that you create that even alignment in downward dog with your hands and feet equally spaced apart as we hinge forward and come into plank position. From plank, we'll lower ourselves down chaturanga like a little push-up, and then inhale, lift our heart up towards the sky in an upward facing dog. Your thighs lifted and your heels drawing back to support your spine in this position, and then exhaling, coming all the way back into downward dog again. This time it's just a pit stop. We'll bring our knees back down to the floor, lift ourselves up, and go back into Ustrasana. This time I'm going to drop my hands down towards my heels. This may or may not be appropriate for you, so it's okay if you just want to keep the hands on the back and support the spine one more time here. Thighs are perpendicular to the floor, and I lift my heart towards the ceiling, letting my head drop back. Inhaling, coming all the way up. And then bringing those hands to the floor, we're going to move into our first inversion. So bringing your hands together, you're going to make a web so that your head can fit inside it. Start by lifting your hips up in a downward dog style, just to get that feeling of all the weight into your head and into your forearms. And then you can lift one leg up. As you extend that leg up towards the ceiling, try to keep your hips as level as possible. We have two legs, so therefore there are two sides, keeping the hips nice and level. Now I'm going to lift the other leg up into the floor. Again, trying to keep all that weight into your head and into your forearms. And then as you're ready to come down, you can bring that leg down, and this time we're just going to walk the legs back and come into a forearm plank position. So keeping the forearms on the floor and heels drawing back. Keep that lift to your thigh bones as you lift your hips up into the air and let your head hang between your arms. Putting all the weight into our forearms, letting our head be heavy, keeping our hips lifted, and then we're going to bring our knees down and go into Ustrasana one more time, the camel pose. By now your spine should be feeling pretty loose, so this one might even feel a little bit better, a little bit easier. If you can get your hands down to your feet, use them to push up and really lift your heart up towards the sky. Make sure that you're still breathing, and then on a big inhale breath, come all the way back up to center, bringing those hands back down to the floor, curling the toes under, lifting the hips up, downward dog. Anytime that your head is lower than your heart, you are practicing an inversion. Inversions make your brain work better, improve concentration, memory, observation, and boost mental awareness. Sounds like a lot of positive effects to me. Let's keep all that action with our thighs pressing back as we hinge forward, coming into plank position. Our heels are drawing back, thighs are lifted, lowering ourselves down into chaturanga, again, little push-up, inhaling up to upward facing dog. Make sure that you maintain strong legs and strong arms here so that your spine doesn't sag. Then on your next exhale, draw the hips back, and we'll move into our second version of Ustrasana or headstand. Interlacing your fingers, creating that web, drop your head in between there, and then lifting your hips up again, downward facing dog. This time we're going to bring both legs up. So as I bring both legs up, I'm just going to bend my knees and draw my heels down towards my hips. All of your weight is on your forearms and on your head. Make sure that you are not creating a crunching in your neck or spine. So if you do, you should come down immediately, leave a comment so that we can find a variation or an alternate pose for you. If you're having trouble maintaining your balance here, remember you can keep both legs on the floor and just keep working that one-legged variation that we did in the beginning. You want to bring both feet down to the floor lightly, and then down to your knees, and we're going to return back into dolphin pose again. So lifting our hips up, putting all that weight into our forearm, making sure that our neck is nice and soft here. And then we'll work with that same idea of lifting one leg up into the air while we keep the other one planted. Again, really trying to keep our hips even here. All of our weight should be on our forearms. Neck should be nice and long and soft. As you're ready to, bringing that other leg down, returning to center for a breath or two. Pressing down through the forearms and then lifting the other leg up into the air. Again, trying to keep my hips nice and even here, lifting that heel up as high as I can into the air. And then you can bring both knees down to the floor, and then we're going to go back into our resting pose, downward facing dog. Inversions can be mentally and physically challenging, so always take a rest that's appropriate for you. Right now, you could also rest in child pose if your arms or legs are feeling tired and you need a tiny break. Breaks over, let's move into our final version of headstand or Ustrasana. So bringing our knees back down to the floor, taking that web with our hands, dropping our head right in between there, putting all the weight into our forearms and our heads, this time lifting our legs up together, making them as one as we press our heels towards the ceiling. The lift in the legs is essential in Ustrasana. Otherwise, you will find that there's too much weight on your head and it's very, very hard to hold this balance. In yoga, inversions are an essential part of every good practice. In Jiu-Jitsu, inverting or an inversion usually refers to that action of spinning upside down. It is used both offensively and defensively as a strategy from the bottom position. As you feel ready to come out, try to lower your legs down as one, back down to the floor, and then we'll move back into a child pose. I'm going to use that blanket between my knees again to keep that space there. Make sure you take some time in child pose here to rest your head on the floor and just make sure that there's no kinks into your neck. I like to wrap my hands around my back just to give my arms a little bit of a rest. Take your time here to allow the fluctuations of headstand to settle. It can be very energetic and also a little discerning, especially if you had some trouble in the pose. Make sure that you keep watching this video because in yoga we have a rule. If you do headstand, that you have to do shoulder stand. So we're going to flip ourselves over and go all the way down to our back. As I lay myself down, I'm going to prepare to do little bridge pose. So I want to keep my feet in line with my hips and my knees facing towards the ceiling. Your head rests on the floor and your chin is in line with your sternum. As you press your feet down and lift your hips up, you can get a really nice deep bridge here. You can use your hands under your hips to help extend the bridge a little bit more. We use this bridging action all the time in Jiu-Jitsu, so why not use this opportunity to get strong here? Keeping your hips as even as possible, you're going to start to lift your right leg all the way up into the ceiling. Again, keep extending out through your heel, get that nice straight leg, keeping the hips even. Try not to lose any of the lift in your bridge as you draw your chest towards your chin, leaving your head on the floor resting. And then what we do to one side, we do to the other, so let's lift that other leg up into the air. So as you press down through the foot, you want to extend that leg up, trying to keep the hips as even as possible. At this point, you can choose to stay here and repeat lifting the legs up, or we can move ourselves into full Sarvangasana, shoulder stand. So this time we're going to bring both of our legs up into the air. And again, creating that action as if they are one. So as I extend my heels up, I want that lift in my legs to keep that weight off of my shoulders. I'm going to press my arms strongly down and use the hands behind my back to support my spine. Shoulder stand has many benefits, such as improving digestion, strengthening your immune system by reducing the fluid intention into your lower body, and also allowing fresh blood to flow to your heart. It can also make chasing triangles and arm bars a lot easier. Again, if you're feeling discomfort in this position, there are props and things that we can use to make it accessible for everyone. Once you've had enough of this, we can start to lower ourselves down into a plow pose, so you can release the hands from behind your back and then bringing your knees right by your ears and grabbing your feet. Again, this might not be accessible for everyone, so you can also return just to happy baby pose. This should reduce any tension that you have in your spine and also give a nice stretch to the lower back. Take as long as you need here, making sure that you're still breathing, and then we're going to move into our final pose. So rolling ourselves out and moving into Shavasana. I'm going to bring my feet together and let my knees splay out just to make sure that my lower back is completely released. Lying down bound angle pose is a very nice restful pose that we are going to take for Shavasana today. Since we already have that blanket handy, let's grab it and put it into a trifold. We're going to use it to support our full spine. So make sure that you lie over it. And then what we'll do is fold the end over just to make sure that my chin is going down towards my heart now. As we settle into Shavasana, let go of the vibrations of the practice. Allow them to settle. Allow your body to settle and relax into the floor and also to that blanket that's supporting your spine. Headstand and handstand are a team, so working the two of them together, you should create a nice balancing effect for both your mind and your body. Feel free to take your time in Shavasana, using it to rest and relax your mind here. Thank you so much for watching this all the way to the end. Make sure that you share this with a friend who also likes to do yoga and jiu-jitsu, and please leave a comment. I would love to come up with a sequence that's just for you. I feel invigorated, so I can't wait to tackle the day, or at least tackle Logan. Thanks for watching, everybody. Namaste.